Welcome back to another episode of Table Talk Friday, a D&D podcast. I'm your host, Oswin Alemaker, and I just wanted to tell you about three boys who love to talk about D&D. If you like their style, you should follow them on any podcast service you prefer, and come back every Friday for a new episode. And without any further ado, back to the boys.
Okay. All right, Drew. So something's been on my mind a lot lately, and it's the big thing is I'm in love with space right now.
In love with space.
I'm in love with space. So No Man's Sky, right? I got a Switch 2, and I first saw No Man's Sky. It was $20 on Switch 2, and I was like, I've always wanted to play this game, and I am going to be traveling a lot soon. What if I had like a Minecraft style game that I can sit down and play while I'm doing all this traveling? And I drop it in No Man's Sky. And so I'm sure, I don't need to spout out what No Man's Sky is much. If someone's listening to this podcast, they probably know what No Man's Sky is. But traveling around in space, flying planet to planet, killing aliens, taking pictures of them. I've taken like a dozen or 24 screenshots of just like really cool cinematic angles of my ship flying in front of the rings of a planet type stuff.
Oh, okay.
And they recently introduced something really new. And that is that you can build your own ships. You're not just buying ships like you would at a car lot, like you were before. Now you can build your own ships. So I have in this little palm-sized computer that goes in my pocket the schematics of how to build the Normandy.
No, you did not.
So
really?
I have it. I think I have the amount of money in No Man's Sky that I need to build the Normandy. I've only been playing for like 20 hours, but I've gotten so many strokes of luck back to back of like, well, it's like I'm inheriting money. Like I'm shooting through space, right? Hurtling through space. I get into the new system. I'm here. And first thing that happens, a freighter's pulled up, pirates are attacking it. And I'm like, oh, well, let me help these guys. I go over the side, I shoot down all these pirates, and then the guy's like, dude, you got to come on board my freighter. And I walk in, and he's like, it's been really rough around here. I'm the overseer. Would you like to be the captain? And I'm like, yes, I'd love to be the captain. And then I become the captain, and then I sell all their stuff.
So you're just pulling a Skyrim here. You're just pulling things off the shelf and selling them.
Yeah, well, and you can do stuff like that, or you can find ships on like planets that are salvageable, and you then fix up their engines so they can fly them to the nearest space station, and then sell them for scraps. And you get like 14 million credits, and then you turn around and use that to upgrade your ship.
Jeez, you're just cheat coding the game.
It's not cheat coding. It takes hours for me to do this stuff.
Is there a lot of time invested in traveling?
So not in necessarily like the space travel and traveling, but there is a lot of time in like finding things on the planets. You can buy like certain maps to take you to like civilizations and space stations and stuff. But if you're like just trying to find things on planets, it's a lot of like running around, mining things with your laser. You scan all of the new flora and fauna and creatures you see, and then you get little like the whatever organization is over top of this entire galaxy kind of like pens you. They're like, hey, here's 3K for scanning that animal for me. Because, you're documenting things for whatever space scientists are there. And
space scientist. It sounds kind of like a Now, I'm not a Subnautica guy, right? But from the videos I've seen, it sounds a lot like that.
I've seen the same thing. It looks pretty similar. This is probably my new favorite survival game. Like, hands down, I'm obsessed with it. So much so. You already know I have a very nice computer, right?
Mm-hmm.
I have put in the $10 a month at the moment for Xbox Game Pass so I could play it on my computer too. Because it's cross-save.
Okay.
It's cross-save. You can play your same save on my Switch that I have on my computer.
Ooh.
So,
see, I've been wanting to do it with Minecraft. I don't know if Minecraft does that too.
I think it does. So that's been really, really fun. I've been sinking time into it. And yeah, I'm going to build the Normandy and fly it around. And that's going to be lit.
So you're talking about building the Normandy, which obviously is an epic thing, right?
Yeah.
But is it homesteady in a sense where it's kind of like Red Dead 2? Is it more like Fallout 3? Like how does the building kind of feel? Is it monotonous? Or?
So it's a couple of different ways. There are settlements already settled that you can like walk into and like become the overseer and start like constructing buildings and stuff, right? Likewise, you have full on like building mechanics to just build your own base too, if you'd like. So like, I want to build a Fortnite style house, right? I have little schematics for different kinds of walls I can build, and I build up a giant house, build up your own settlement. There are people, because it's an online world, right? Like people can be in the same spot at the same time, even though it's a giant universe-sized galaxy. So you're not really running into people that often unless you're doing a multiplayer event of sorts. But the really cool thing is people have built like giant structures on certain planets that you can visit if you know where they're at in this universe. So like if you have the right coordinates and stuff, you can make your way to those destinations and see like there's a whole city that someone built hanging by wires in the middle of a canyon. Like for instance, sweet. So you can go that far, and NPCs are like there to like man your freighters or man your villages that you build. So you can go as far as like a Fallout type deal, I would say. It's more along those lines where like you're just building this settlement to make it look nice. People can be there, like usually they're like working for you. Civilians will move in. It's pretty cool.
I might have to give this a try because obviously I'm super into survival games.
Oh yeah,
entirely. I might want to do some space travel. Spelljammer's kind of got me on this space hype as well.
Exactly where I wanted to go, because Spelljammer is what started this, where I was like, man, I'm kind of in a space mood, and I started writing more, and I was like, I just wanted to play No Man's Sky, and now I'm playing No Man's Sky. And funny thing is, I play a lot of RPGs, and they inspire my D&D sessions. No Man's Sky has given me no D&D inspiration. It's strict like
really
zen out survival game, which I don't play a lot of. Usually if I'm playing a game, it has to have a story. There's not much story in No Man's Sky. There's main quest lines and stuff you go through, but I'm not like invested in them. I'm just sitting here zenning out. My favorite part is building ships. I love building ships. I spent probably 2 hours the other day where I did a mission, got the rewards where I got some ship parts, went back to the thing, and spent another like 30 minutes moving stuff on my ship around.
Oh man, I'm a big base builder. Obviously, I'm the base builder in Minecraft. I always have been. Whatever group I'm in, I'm always the first one to build the house or start setting up the little, the shit shack or the whatever you want to call it, right? I don't know how much fun I would have building a whole ship. I think I might want to just build like a schematic or a blueprint or something, and then just cruise around in it.
It's really simple. Like you said, you can just pop in there, throw a couple of parts together, and it'll fly. Like.
I might just take the nearest free one. Like, oh yeah, you want to give it? Yeah, I'll ride that the whole time.
You start off with a ship, which is perfectly passable. Oh. Yeah, which is perfectly passable. The whole like intro mission is you exploring a planet to repair your ship that's crash landed.
Okay, pretty typical.
And then once you make it into space, anytime you're on a space station, you can look at a ship and go, I like that ship. And you can go talk to its captain and be like, I'll give you this much for your ship, guy. And then you can exchange your ship for their ship, or you can just buy it outright and add it to your collection.
It's like one of those escalating flip trades. You ever seen those people online that start with a paper clip at a convention and they work their way up? Just keep trading for better and better spaceships.
So I'm kind of obsessed with it. I'm like 25 hours into playing, and these new ships are called like Corvettes, is what they're called. So you go and you build your Corvette, and you can go like crazy. You can live in it too. Like you can have all the same stuff that you would have in a base inside your ship. Which is the part I'm looking forward to, is actually being able to fly this thing around and do all my missions from my ship, not have to go back to my base, not go back to my freighter or whatever village I'm working out of. I can just go on my ship and click the little computer thing and it all works for me. Not only that, you can skydive out of the ship too. If you get into the atmosphere and stay up there, you can just you can park your ship and it'll hover, and a little teleporter, like a little beam spot will be there. So you can go back and it'll teleport you back up to your ship whenever you want. You can just go out the back, open up the hatch, it goes, and you can just jump out and freaking skydive down to your mission.
Oh, that's really cool.
I know.
I'm thinking maybe a Spelljammer mechanic. I don't know. Maybe you let us jump out of the ship and skydive onto enemies.
I did think about that, but that was before I started playing No Man's Sky. I thought it would be cool if like the Spelljammer was over an objective or something. You guys all jumped out and like feather fall down or something like to an objective. I thought that would be cool.
That'd be neat, or at least some sort of like abductor beam.
Yeah,
that'd be neat. So like we can have Garrus or oh gosh, what is his name? Flapjack flying on over and just suck us up and we're safe.
So okay, so we've gone on for like 10 minutes on gaming. So how have you been? What have you been up to?
I'm living the dream over here. I'm continuously training in my new job, getting better and better every day. I've hit that point where you're kind of overcoming the curve. Where it's like, oh man, it's really tough. But now I feel like I'm escalating. Like, oh, I'm getting faster, and I'm noticing that I'm better at some things than other people on my team that have been there. It's like, oh yeah. So I feel really good about that. Of course, raising the good old Peanut over here, who's a little menace.
Yes.
But absolutely adorable for everyone listening. He's a little beagle chihuahua mutt thing that we have. We don't know exactly what he is, but he's a very cute puppy. And he just loves everybody. I make friends all the time. I walked him out over to the on the sidewalk the other day. We were just walking around. People were walking by like, oh, the cutest dog ever. And now we traded numbers with this guy, and I have a best friend down the road.
I hear that is a highlight of when you get a pet. Like,
it is, yeah.
Sadly, my cat only likes inside, so outside's not good. Outside's not gonna happen.
Well, Shinx is a electric dark type, I believe.
Yes.
So I feel like dark types probably would be a little more reclusive.
Yeah, no, I think you're right. So she is very electric. Oh my God, she scratched me the other day, and it got me right on like the vein on my arm, and I was like, it looks like I shoot up in the apartment because I've just been around. Gabby comes home and she's like, oh, she's talking to me and everything, and I go, look what the cat did to me, and I point and I go, it looks like I took heroin today.
Look what it did to me. Just dark bags out of the eyes. You're talking to this maintenance guy that came over to your house like, yeah, my cat was talking to me.
It was the same day the maintenance guy was here too. It was the same day, which I don't think I said it for the folks at home. The other day, the maintenance guy comes up, and I have headphones in, and the cat's in my lap, and I don't hear anything, but the cat starts like moving, and I'm like, oh, is someone at the door? The cat's moving. She doesn't usually move when she's in my lap. And so I was like, okay, I take my headphones out, I get up, and I start running to the door because that's just the kind of person I am. I start taking off. Why
are we taking off towards the door?
Like when we were in college, I would just run around campus to get to my destinations because it was faster. And so I was like, in my head, this is an efficiency thing. I'm like, take off towards the door. Let's go open it up. And so I start taking off running towards the door. As soon as I'm within like 5 feet, that door freaking opens up. And standing there is the maintenance guy. I don't know his name, but he's been here like 6 times because things keep happening. And so he opens up the door and he's like, oh. And I'm like, the cat told me you were coming. That's my response. And then
he promptly left.
Yeah, I said the cat told me you were coming. And then, yeah, he looks at me. He's like, oh, okay, I'm here to fix the AC because that's what was broken. And he did. He fixed the AC in like 5 minutes. He yelled, I'm leaving. And I was like, okay, see ya.
As people get paid a ton of money. He probably walked in there, flipped the switch. It was like, oh, you're good to go.
I don't think he gets paid a ton of money, I'll be honest. He's like the only maintenance guy here. He probably makes what an E3 in the military makes.
Maybe not in the complexes and whatnot, but some of these tradesmen.
Oh yeah, like if you're like a trade, worksmith.
a trade
worksmith. I'm sure you make good money.
Clearly blue collar podcasters.
Speaking of job stuff, before we get into D&D Finance, that's our subject for the week. Audience, don't let us forget, especially you, good old gamer. But oh my God, I lost my train of thought. Okay, my job stuff. Obviously, I told you I accepted a job offer recently, and it doesn't start for a few months, which is great because that means I can be lazy instead of working hard in the meantime. I can be like, I can use the time that I have available to myself. So they hit me up and they're like, hey, we need you to do a background check. And I'm like, easy, I passed all of those. I have a top secret clearance. I always pass the background check. So first I go do the drug test, which was really quick. I print out the stuff. I do it. I come back, passed it with flying colors. And after the drug test, I go to fill out all the paperwork online. And they're like, we're going to need your driver's license, buddy. And I'm like, oh, of course. Well, I have currently, because I'm trying to get my Texas driver's license. I had a North Carolina one before. Well, something that the Texas DMV does when they renew your driver's license in a different state. I think all states are supposed to do this, but a lot of times they just let you keep the card. They took my old one and they gave me a paper copy of the new one and said it will be mailed to you in a few weeks. This was in July. And so I get the paper and I'm like, cool. September rolls around and I'm like, where's my ID? They said it would be a few weeks. I checked the paper. It says should be there within 3 weeks, and this ID expires in 2 days. And I go, well, that's not okay. So I email the DMV, and they shoot me back a thing saying, hey, here's an updated paper when something happened to your old one. I'm like, cool. So
they lost it.
Yeah, they definitely lost it. And so They said, give us 3 weeks. I need to fill out a background check. I have 72 hours to fill out a background check and a piece of paper that says I'm allowed to be in this country. And I was like, I have my birth certificate, my marriage license, my military ID, all my degrees. I was like, I can show you all this stuff. Will any of this work? And they're like, no. No,
What?
it won't. It won't work. You have to have a driver's license, a passport, or a state ID. And I was like, I have a paper one. And they're like, okay, well, it says it's not valid. I'm like, well, here's the updated paper from the DMV saying it is valid. And they're like, no, we have to have the real card. And I was like, okay. So I was panicked yesterday. I was like freaking out because I was like, well, I had a job and now I don't. And because they sent me a little thing saying, hey, well, you're not going to be able to work here because we don't have your driver's license. And I'm like, I have a top secret clearance.
Crazy because you have all the documentation showing that you're good to go. So what does it matter if you have a piece of plastic?
Because through whatever third-party software they use, it has to have that card scanned in. It has to. It has to have the
just
card.
manually input the information.
I know. It says the driver's license number right there.
Dumb.
So, anyways, I hit up the recruiter and because we're tight. And so I hit up the recruiter and I'm like, hey, I'm freaking out. And she tells me, she's like, because you've been so on top of updating me. And by the way, this isn't the only conversation we had. I sent 3 threads of emails trying to make sure I was straight because I really want this job, you know? And so I sent 3 threads of emails and she sends me back a thing like, dispute it with the third party company. I'm like, okay, well, here's what they said. And because I called them. I called the third party company and was like, help. And they didn't help. And so then I finally get a response from her. I'm like, hey, here's the update what the third party company said. And she said, here's what I'm going to do. I am going to hold your slot till you get your ID. And I was like, thank you so much. But she was like, I'm only doing this because you've been so up to date, like with keeping me on up to date. And I was like, oh my God, I thought my anxiety was a burden.
It worked for you this time.
It did. It worked. I told Gabby, I was like, we should be happy that your husband is so anxious all the time because now he has a job.
Sure, she's thrilled. She's just thrilled about it.
Yeah, I was like breaking down yesterday because I was freaking out so bad.
Nah, you'll find your way in one way or another.
That's exactly what my whole family said. They were like, "Why did you need that job?" And I was like, "Because I wanted it." And they were like, "Yeah, but there's like you can do another one."
You want it because it was right there in front of you. But
No.
there's a million other
The reason I
jobs
want
you
it
can
is because I'm a veteran and a military spouse. It's very good for me to. They work only with the people in the military, right? Like they only work with veterans and active duty, and military spouses and family. Meaning, like 1, I know all the lingo. 2, if like she gets stationed somewhere else, like say Germany, which is an option. You know, we got bases in Germany. If we got stationed in Germany. They assured me, hey, if you're a military spouse or a veteran, they're going to make sure you keep your job. They'll keep you remote for that whole time. And I was like, that's why I care so much. Cause I'm like, this could be a long-term job, not just to jump in for a few months and hate it.
Okay. Something kind of easy to do remotely. I like that.
Exactly.
I like that.
Well, I don't know if it's going to be easy. I haven't done it yet.
Well, you're just so good at everything. So it's going to be easy. You got it.
Yeah. Anyways, on to our topic for the day. We're going to be talking about D&D Finance and how all of money, magic items, dragons, hoards, all works in not only the Forgotten Realms, but I also have some ideas for like Eberron and stuff, because let's be honest, the dragon marked houses are definitely just like gigantic megacorps based on whatever field they specialized in because of their dragon marks.
I need to dig more into the whole dragon mark and Eberron thing. I feel like Eberron is a really good first step if you're jumping into like the finances of D&D, just because it's so futuristic and modern. It makes you think more, well, how does this work? How does this actually flow in this setting?
Dude, Eberron is I've been spouting it a lot, especially like I talked to Chase about it twice, I think. Eberron is just the best setting. It's like my favorite setting. I love everything about it. All the steampunkiness, all the futuristicness. It's probably my favorite D&D setting. And the dragon marked houses are one of these reasons for that. Like now I can't tell you all of their names. All I know is about Alden de Orion. That's the only person I can tell you about because he's who we directly interacted with House Orion. But I know like they're basically gigantic guilds, right? Of people who have these dragon marks, and one of them being the people who created the Warforged. They created a race.
It's a big deal.
They created a race. And that's the insanity of it to me, where I'm like, these people are just rolling around with all the money in the city of Sharn.
I want to learn more about Eberron. Obviously, we had done a short campaign with our buddy Zach at the table, and so we got to see a lot of that steampunk and that cool vibe and some of the dragon marked houses like you were talking about. But we really didn't get to dive super deep into the lore, or like how Eberron actually works, or if it even connects into some of the other, realms. I'm not sure. I don't know if it actually does. Are there portals open? I couldn't tell you. I don't know.
Yeah. So you mean other realms as in like the other settings?
Yeah, like, does it connect to the Forgotten Realms? Does it connect to Ravnica? I don't know. I'm not sure.
So loosely based on like Spelljammer Planescape lore, which Planescape can come in the finance conversation as well. But loosely based on Planescape Spelljammer stuff, yes, all the settings exist. You just have to fly through the astral sea and you can get to them. So like these little wild spaces they exist in, these little holes in the universe, basically little pocket universes within each other, are all the different settings, pretty much. So, like, you've got Realm Space, which is where the Forgotten Realms takes place in, but which is currently Doom Space in your guys' campaign. You have Eberron's whatever space, Eberron Space. That takes place over there. I think Gray Space is where Greyhawk is at.
Oh, okay. So all the environment, like the space environments, are named around those specific settings.
Yeah.
Okay. So what if I was in Greyhawk and I took a whole bunch of, gold coins, maybe?
Yeah.
I take 10 Greyhawk coins and I go over to Eberron. And I'm like, I would like to buy 2 Snicker bars, please. Could I do it?
Now, here's the question. Like, the city of Waterdeep has dragons, right? They're gold coins, but they look specific. Are these minted in a specific way, or are they just little gold coins?
I'm thinking, let's say, I guess for this case, they're universal. Because the only coin, to your point, that I could think of that is different is the actual dragon for Waterdeep. Although we were on a boat at one point that had those goose coins, I believe, but they were more casino chips.
Yeah.
So really, every other money, as far as I'm concerned, in the settings we've played in, have been pretty much the same and are not minted unless it has been mentioned.
And it's only been mentioned the one time.
Like, how does that actually affect it anyway? So, like, if they're dragons in Waterdeep, you could still spend those dragons elsewhere. So
I would think so. I would think that all gold coins are relatively the same size, and no matter the mint, they can be spent anywhere.
That makes sense. Then the mint is strictly to show where it
came from. Exactly.
But that would mean that as far as we know, the D&D universe has a universal currency, which is crazy to think.
Right.
How would that work? Like, all these people that have never met before, these settings that have never crossed, unless of course there is some sort of realm planeswalking kind of thing going on with this money. I don't know, some sort of government plot.
That would kind of be my assumption, is that now we're talking about Fantasyland, right? But that's where the conversation becomes fun, because I think between all of these realms, yes, there is some planeswalking type stuff. You've got like a Mordenkainen who can go between all of these places. Planescape is quite literally just the city of doors, and they just go out to the different planes to wherever. So, and then Spelljammer, where you can like travel between these sections of space. I think that, yes, you might operate on some of that, but I also think it's just like the general assumption. Like, if we're making this into like a real world type deal, most places come up with some form of currency, and gold for some reason is seen as valuable across history. So maybe it's just a funny coincidence that this happens, and over time it becomes more regulated. But at the same time, there are things like Darkstar, which is a universe, I think is one of them. Dark Sun, where everybody is so poor. I was looking up some stuff for this beforehand. Dark Sun, like water is literally currency because things are so hard to get your hands on. Like drinkable water. Yeah, drinkable water is hard to get your hands on, so that's as much as currency. And so, yeah, when it comes to gold coins, Fantasyland, we operate on the 10-to-1 system. 10 platinum equals a gold, 10 gold equals a silver, 10 silver equals a copper, and so on and so forth, down to grains of sand. 10 grains of sand gets you 1 piece of glass.
Just keeps going.
So, in that we operate on this, but I also like the idea that like smaller villages and poorer places don't really care about gold that much. They work on like a barter system.
Okay. So I like the barter system, and obviously that works universally because anybody could trade for anything. But where do we get these? So we mentioned gold kind of being universal, and there's other things like the platinum and whatnot. Where do these other currencies get picked? So obviously in our world and IRL, right? Gold, platinum, silver, they all have pretty good monetary value. Copper included, more so for like wiring and
Right.
less so value, more actual work. Where does the copper come from? To me, I'm thinking in a fantasy type of world, ignoring Eberron or whatever futuristic steampunk kind of settings you may have. Copper to me would not be the first choice of like the smallest currency, unless you're just kind of thinking like pennies to me. But pennies are more so zinc than anything now. So I'm curious if it's just an older style. Like, is that where it's coming from? I don't know. You don't hear anything about copper in most of the games we've ever played.
You know what? Now that you mention it, in like D&D type stuff, I would think that it would be like some kind of rock. You know what I mean?
Yeah, like a crystal or a gem or something,
Like that would be the lowest common denominator, given that you can not only use it for like money and exchanging, but you can also use it as like focuses and whatnot. Like that is the real world like equivalent, in that magic can be channeled through crystals. Well, electricity can be channeled through copper, right?
Yeah.
Same type of deal here.
And if you wanted to pick a different currency, let's say you were going to pick a third item that wasn't gold, silver, not including platinum or others right now. Let's say you were trying to pick that third one, substitute for copper. To me, if I'm thinking fantasy world, I'm going brass.
I was just thinking brass.
Option. Like, why wouldn't you think about? So we were in Theros for a long period of time, right? A lot of the weapons were brass. The armor was brass. Think about the dragons we've met. We've met brass dragons. I don't think we've ever met a copper dragon. They're very, very far in between. Yeah. To me, brass is where it's at, especially if you go into like the futuristic settings. If you then jump into Eberron and whatnot, brass could be used for like firearms and things like that, right? Maybe some sort of wiring, some sort of malleable tools or inventions, right? Yeah, which I guess copper then also jumps into, wiring of sorts, futuristic. But I just feel like brass is the bigger option there. I'm surprised they didn't go for that.
Yeah, I think it's just the equivalent. It's weird that we have gold, silver, copper. And brass is a weird one. I think it's just easy to think of in fantasy tense. Like when it comes down to it, like if we're suspending disbelief, like that's what I think of when I think of fantasy currency. But if I was to like change something, I think silver wouldn't be there either. It would be like nickel or some other cheap metal if we're using it as currency, Like we're taking all that stuff out of here. We're not using these valuable metals because they can be used for more important things like magic weapons.
That's true.
Or silver. Silver should be so much more valuable and sought after, given that it can kill some monsters that you can't kill with a steel weapon. You know what I mean?
That's true. Yeah. No, absolutely.
Silver should be so important. Like in the original player's handbook, there is an option to add an amount of money to silver your weapon.
Yeah, I don't know how much money it is at the top of my head.
I think it's like 10 gold or like something like that. It's not that expensive, but at the same time, I'm like, silver should be so much more valuable given all of these things. I can't believe it's not. But realistically, I don't think the writers thought about that. I think they just thought, oh, this is how it'll work. But I definitely, if I was to completely change the system, we would still have gold. Still have gold there. But silver,
I think it's a good idea.
Silver would be just as valuable. Just as valuable.
Yeah. That makes sense.
I don't know what platinum is. Platinum useful? I mean, the stigma of platinum could be around like Bahamut. He's the platinum dragon. You know what I mean?
Ooh, so it's got some sort of religious
right?
Sort of
like as in it's a perceived value of platinum. It's not really super useful, I guess. But I guess platinum, as far as like shiny things, is really valuable and nice.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not super familiar with platinum. I believe is a very hard metal, so maybe you could use it for some sort of armor. I'm not sure if it's malleable or not. I know gold obviously is, but I don't know if you can find any other use for platinum other than making jewelry or just some sort of currency.
Maybe that's what it is. It's just pretty.
I mean, that's cool. Yeah, I like platinum in the games. I think it's neat. It's nice to have other conversions, right? Just so you can move your money around a little bit. And then also you could tell when you tell your party as a DM, like, oh, a couple platinum pieces, you're like, oh, platinum pieces, because that's so much gold, right? But inherently, as soon as you get it, you're just converting it to gold anyway.
Yeah, no, that is what it's like. We put the platinum there, and then you put the little gold in parentheses next to it because you forget how much it is. Which it is funny that almost all tables I've played at have defaulted to just going with gold. You know what I mean? Like in Storm King's Thunder, we did do a little bit of like, okay, you have this much copper, this much silver, this much gold, and almost always I would end up pricing magic items at just however much gold it was. And then you guys would do all these conversions, and I'm like, what's point? We should just have everybody round up to their gold number because that's all that's really important here. And I do think for gameplay purposes, that is the most important thing, is to simplify it, because nobody wants to have their wallet looking like my wallet did before it was all on my phone. Where I just got a bunch of ones and a bunch of fives and a bunch of tens and a bunch of 20s. I want it to be in my D&D game, I want it rounded to the $100 bill.
I mean, why not make it easier for everybody? We're all gathered around a table to play make believe, and the last thing I want to do is go, "Oh yeah, I have 5 copper pieces, and I need to buy an ale, so let me do the. I only have 3 gold pieces." No one wants to do that, and in our games now, I don't think anybody's actually tracking it. If I'm buying an ale at the local tavern and I have 20 gold, I'm not changing anything.
No, I wouldn't either.
DM understands that I'm gonna have a couple copper pieces to give, and I'm not jotting down that I did it. There's no reason.
No, and I don't think that's ever been important in our tracking. Like, oh my god, I ran out of my last 3 copper pieces. So that actually brings me into a different system that's not 5e, because I find it interesting how Daggerheart has done it. I've been reading a lot of different books. I read through more Monster of the Week recently. I read through some of the Daggerheart book. I've got some stuff I want to talk about with that on a different episode. And I've been reading through the 2024 Player's Handbook, which I now have a copy of, because I was interested, I want to know. And the way that Daggerheart tracks money is in handfuls of gold. So like a few pieces, a handful, a like baggie full, like you're tracking it by like the amount of like times you can spend money basically. And I find that interesting, where it's like, yeah, you hand them a few pieces of gold. You just mark that you spent a few pieces. You don't have an actual number. It's just like, you've got this much gold, probably like, you've got a boatload of gold. Okay, well, how many, there's 500 handfuls in a boatload or something like that. But they track it in a much more simplified way that makes it more cinematic. Like, okay, yeah, just give him like 5 handfuls of gold. Done. Like, it's when you get loot from a monster, right? You can just be like,
it does make it easier, and I haven't read through the book myself, but to me, it just sounds more complicated.
So
trying to do that.
As I was saying it, I found it interesting that it's like a simpler form where there's not an actual number, but it does feel difficult for me to explain. You know what I mean?
Well, it's a new game. It's a new version of D&D, if you will.
I'll have to read more on like how they actually like fully go into it, but I know that they don't do it by like gold piece. And that was something, this is slightly on, slightly off topic, that I've noticed about a lot of like reading into different systems and stuff, where I'm like, but isn't it just easy to say how many gold pieces you have?
To me it is. I mean, why not just have a finite number?
Right. And I'll want to do an episode just kind of like pitching like Daggerheart stuff to you, just because I find the way that things are different very interesting, and in the way that character building goes specifically. But that's for another day. I want to know if you find it interesting, like if there was a plot thread around money, right? Whether it was like an inflation type deal, or whether it was like, a rich versus poor, like nobles versus peasants type deal. What you think good plot hooks would be for like actually making these problems arise? Because my first pitch right off the top of the dome is a group of adventurers, beloved adventurers, managed to kill the big bad. And the big bad had a hoard, whether they were a dragon, whether they were a lich who just had a bunch of magic items. They walk back into, they're not from the biggest city. They're not from Waterdeep. Maybe they're from like a Neverwinter, or from Icewind Dale, which is on the smaller side, but still pretty big, like a Bryn Shander, right? They walk in and they drop all that gold. They exchange all these magic items, or they instead upset the economy completely by selling all their magic items, and the DM completely slipped their mind that there's limited amounts of money in a world, and they give them all the gold and realize, oh, this person's out of money. This shopkeep would run out of money at this point, or vice versa. They walk in and hand the shopkeep 20,000 gold pieces and buy like all of his like uncommon magic items, right? They walk in and this happens. What happens afterwards? That would be my like plot hook for making this into a gameplay thing. What happens whenever a group of adventurers walks in and makes this one armorer the richest man in the entire city?
Which is crazy to think, just in general terms. So if they're buying those items off of that smith or whatever, let's say it's an adventurer, right, who's gathered all these magic items. The adventurer had those magic items in the first place, right? So he had that value. So he was already inherently the richest person. So maybe it wouldn't have as much effect as we think, right?
Yes and no, because a lot goes into the craftsmanship. Like, think about it. If there's a lot of jewelry shops, if I go into town right now, right? There's a lot of diamonds out in town. But I don't know if those people are necessarily considered the richest people around, but that's because a lot of what goes down to it is how they crafted the diamond, right? It's not necessarily the most valuable because it's the rock. It's the way it was crafted. So I think like when it comes to making magic items, they become valuable because it takes so long to make it.
Okay. And that brings a whole different level into it too, because then what is magic worth, and how ample is the supply of magic in your world? Right? Maybe it's a low magic world and the things that you're spending money on are more mundane, sets of armor or adamantine weaponry, stuff like that, right? Or maybe service. Maybe there's a lot more sellswords in this world. I think it's difficult to say what effect it would have on the world without getting into like the specific nitty-gritty of how the economies run, which I don't think most games really get down into.
I would like to see that, In the same way that I like to see political intrigue, I would like to see like what happens realistically on the ground floor, where maybe you guys are playing a group of like debt collectors or something like that, and one of your clients just got his whole store bought out.
Ooh,
or likewise,
cool.
You're playing a shop, like a shop owner and his employees, and you guys just came into a bunch of money out of nowhere, and now people want it. So I do like the idea of pulling a few of those things like into the world, because it makes it feel a lot more realistic, right? Not even realistic. It's still high fantasy, but still.
I think it brings a different dynamic to it. And it's frankly something I would like to see in most D&D games. Not necessarily, the dynamic of the culture and, the political intrigue of money, right? But just money being not more valuable, but more used.
Yeah.
So maybe the services in your game are really pushed, right? Maybe it's a world where money isn't necessarily just for buying magic items, but you can also use it to gain, like not level ups per se. That'd be a bit strong. Maybe things like feats, or maybe you could buy your way into some sort of religious divinity or something. I don't know. I just like to see more options to spend your gold, and maybe that's too much just with the power creep in modern D&D. I want to see more.
I think the power creep comes with like character building and stuff. One thing I think is a killer way to let the players invest their money, right? A lot of times you'll have a lot of money, but you've already been given all the magic items you need. Like for instance, in our games a lot, I typically won't. It's been a while since we've had a store for you guys to go to, because we were in hell for like 100 sessions.
Different currency.
So different currency, soul coins. But I would love to see investing in like a specific guild. So say the Zentarim, right? You guys meet up with a guy from the Zentarim, and you're like, I'll give you this money to get some of your work done, to do some of the things you need to do, get your equipment and whatever. But I want to see that money returned to me more so later. And now there's a client relationship. You guys aren't part of the Zentarim. You are affiliated. Or like the Harpers.
We need more loan sharks in D&D.
Yeah. Or like the Harpers, right? Maybe one of you guys was a member of the Harpers in the past, and that one person kind of liaisons back and forth. You're not all members of the Harpers, but this one person who wanted to be a member of the Harpers is the liaison between you and them, taking your money to and from and doing the investment banking work. I think
I like that. Using money to create some tension, which is not used often. I would like that. And not necessarily the whole plot either, just kind of a segue into getting into, like you were saying, the next clan or the next group, whatever it may be. Like,
Yeah.
oh yeah, I'll give you a quest, but I want to make some money out of this.
Yeah.
I think you need.
And in a way that like right now we're tackling a whole Spelljammer campaign, and then we're going to be getting prepped for big campaign 3, right? Like we're really building it up, getting ready for the big one. I think it would be fun to make returns to like Spelljammer type settings to do these things, because that's where like the free market lives, lives in space.
Yeah, I mean it's the universal place for my understanding. Spelljammer
Yeah.
kind of connects everything.
Yeah.
So I guess that's where most of the money would come into play.
So I think it would be cool to return to like the Rock of Brawl and see all of this kind of stuff take place. So those are fun finance ideas. I think that would. I know there was Acquisitions Incorporated, that one book. I never read it, but I know it does tackle like business owning and stuff.
I think it would be cool for some ideas. I don't think I necessarily want a book to tell me how to run it per se. Maybe just for some inspiration.
Yeah.
I'm thinking in my own world, I kind of want to come up with my own economy and how it flows. But maybe some people have some really good systems that you can kind of mooch off of, and like we were saying before, change the gold out or change the silver out, whatever it may be, for something that's more your preference, something more interesting or culturally significant, I guess.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think it's the way it's tackled is really cool, but we're having this conversation to kind of delve into the nitty gritty of what that could be like. But realistically, it's all in the fun of we're still just going to end up using gold. We're still, and then bartering as well, and trading and stuff. Because I think trading is cool. I wouldn't mind having a whole time where it's just like, no, you go into this magic shop. This guy only wants to trade magic items. He is not taking your money.
Well, and that came up. That was prominent in Theros.
Really?
We were playing in that. Now, so you didn't get to play in Theros, but there were several traders. I don't know what is spoily, so I won't say too much, but I'll just kind of give you the idea. There are these traders that trade in not necessarily valuable currency, but what the individual sees as valuable or interesting. Yes. So there was a situation where, this guy came by. I'm like, oh, you have, I can't remember what he had at the time. I think it was like a magic ring, maybe like a dagger, some potions, stuff like that. Oh, we want to buy it. We have some money. And he just wasn't interested. He wouldn't talk to us. But we had, so I think it was some plates. We had a spoon, and we had like a corpse that we had, like a bandit or something that we had killed recently. And he was like, oh yeah, I'll take that. Like, okay. And we gave it to him, and we got some good items out of it. It just brings, I don't know, it brings something else to the table.
Yeah.
Giving currency power, but not necessarily just gold. And it was really interesting.
I think it's fun that in D&D you can be a lot more loose with currency and stuff, because in the real world, I'm bogged down by money all the time, and I don't want to be bogged down by it when I'm just trying to zen out for a few hours. That should be the final thing here. After all this, don't think about it too hard.
That's it. Just don't think about money. There is one thing I'd like to pitch.
Okay.
And I don't think it's ever been used at our table. I would like to see, and I'll even take a step back here. Think about any video game you've ever played, right?
No Man's Sky.
In D&D, No Man's Sky, perfect. I don't know what the currency is in No Man's Sky, so like work with me here. In D&D, there's copper, silver, and gold, right? And the whole purpose of the currency is to kind of convert into itself, right? The only other game I could think of, and maybe you'll laugh at me, the only other game I could think of that does that is something like a cookie clicker or a webkin, something like that, right? Where it kind of, what's the word? It kind of scales into the larger amount. So you get a lot of like the little rules. Later on, they become diamonds, right?
Yeah, because a lot of times what I see in other gaming is multiple currencies that all do different things.
Exactly. And that's where I think D&D is missing, right? So get away from this conversion crap. What I want to see is something more along the lines of like the runes in Doom, right? It's not necessarily money, but it's something else that's valuable in the world that you can use for very specific things. Like you wouldn't walk into a magic shop or even like a food shop and say, oh yeah, I'm going to buy 3 apples with I mean, he's going like, what are you talking? Give me some gold or something, right? I want there to be, and whether that be something that's already built into the game or something that the person of the world creates, right? So like runes or like a glyph, or maybe it's, silver steel, or, you can come up with any sort of word you like, right? Yeah, and literally anything that you're able to use for a specific purpose. And maybe every world would differ. Maybe it's divinity, maybe it is magic, maybe it's just fortitude. Maybe you're able to boost your stats or your your dexterity by doing. I don't know. There's a lot of options, but I'd like to see almost a skill tree kind of an option, right? Where
Yeah.
you have this currency, but it's not like the rest of it. It's completely different. It does not convert. How much gold is this rune? Well, I mean, I don't know. It's really up to interpretation. It's more subjective, but interesting. I really want to implement that. I have ideas for it in my own world, but I haven't quite gotten to naming it and picking out what the abilities are going to be, anything like that.
Yeah,
But
so
that's
we're-
where I think D&D's lacking.
So we're gonna go back to No Man's Sky, right? Because
Okay.
units are what you use for just general stuff, like
Yep.
stuff that you need, ship parts, things like that.
Mhm.
For blueprints, upgrades, anything that has to do with a schematic or you being able to craft something, or even just more valuable technology, you have to use nanites. And so,
Nanites.
yeah, nanites. So you collect those, and they're a lot more scarce. It's not like a premium currency; you can't buy them, but it's harder to find them. And so,
Okay.
you can get more and more of these to do things like power wise for your character, as opposed to like I own these things. It's more like power scaling. That's a cool idea for D&D, and the fact that like maybe you're in a more religious setting and you collect like actual faith type deal.
Yeah. Ooh,
you
I like that.
you actually collect faith over time, or if you're in a more like really high fantasy, as in like there's ley lines and stuff like that run through the planet, you connect like ether or something like that. So, and those can be used specifically for infusing things, maybe getting certain access to certain abilities for certain items. Like, oh, I've got this wand, but I'd really like it to be a +1 wand. You collect up enough ether, you can get it there. That's a cool idea. We all channel our ether into Jimothy's sword, and now he's got a +3 sword. Jimothy's sword.
Jimothy was the first name that came on top of your head. Was Jimothy?
It's either that or Eric, and I should have said Eric.
It's off topic. Have you heard that stupid commercial that keeps coming up? It's for an insurance. No, I'm sorry. It's for the Winners Club when you win the lottery, because you need more benefits to win in the lottery. And it's this guy that's talking about how once he wins the lottery, his whole life's going to change, and he's going to go, instead of being Todd, he's going to be Todrick. It's like, Todrick, what is? I don't know if you've heard it, or I'm getting it all over the place. Like YouTube ads. It's like, what is this?
No, I have YouTube Premium because I watch that much YouTube.
I just finished I got a free trial, and I was so proud of myself. I canceled it just before, and I felt great because I got a whole month worth of it.
Because of my training, I got that extra like associate's degree in intelligence, right, and in Mandarin Chinese.
Mhm.
I was able to use my account from being enrolled in that institute to get a student account and only pay like $7 a month, $7 or $8 a month for YouTube Premium.
That's what it's
so
about.
I'm living large on YouTube Premium. I can't live without it now. If I see ads, I feel like I'm wasting time on there.
I like the idea of YouTube Premium being like a symbol of wealth and status. So not Gucci, right? Not Louis Vuitton, right? It's like you have a belt buckle with like the YouTube logo on. Like, yeah, I'm premium, baby.
I think I live in like the digital world, and it's in like the little sim thing over my head, but instead it's a YouTube Premium logo.
Yeah, that's good. That's good stuff.
Yeah, that's the symbol of wealth around here.
Maybe there's, silly idea. I hadn't thought about it before, but maybe there's some room for not subscription services in D&D. That's probably a terrible idea.
That'd be funny.
I feel weird. I like the idea that maybe it goes back to the idea of just having more ways to spend money, but more services, right? So whether you push sellswords in your game or more like, hey, we have to tackle these 3 things. Maybe the adventurers hires another group of adventurers to go do some of it for them. Like, oh, instead of these 3 objectives, they go knock one out and you focus on the other 2.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'd like to see more of that. That'd be cool.
I think the subscription that you could have to Sirius Snape XM would be pretty lit, and it's like through sending your little sending earbuds. Okay.
No, the sending earbuds was really funny.
I made that up on the spot, dude.
It was good.
I made that up on the spot. I had a character for the audience out there who previously they had seen that she had something in her ears, but no one really called attention to it. And so I had her walk up, and she's like got a hand on her ear, and she's doing the whole like dance around singing type deal because she has sending buds.
Which I'm glad you specified, because in D&D, when you say there's something in someone's ear, my mind immediately goes, mind flare. Oh my god, this is terrible.
Dude, no, because you haven't played Baldur's Gate. You would see that in your eye. Yeah, you
Oh,
would see that in the eye. And speaking of, Gabby and I still haven't recorded our episode about our Baldur's Gate playthrough, but last week we finished it. We finished the whole game. So I've played through the whole game 2.89 times because I have like 10. I have like 10% left on a third account that I haven't done because when I first played Baldur's Gate, I played like 90% of the game, right? 89% of the game is what I'll say. I played it and I did not like my character. I was playing it and I was like fighting to get through. I was like, why am I not liking what's going on? It's because I didn't like how my character was playing. It felt wrong. So I went all the way back to the beginning, like almost 90% of the way through the game, my first time playing it. And I made a new character. I made Schmidt the Monk. And I played the whole game. Everything. All the way through again. It was faster, but still not very fast. Finished the whole game like that. And then now Gabby and I have done our co-op playthrough. Felgalos, my beloved Dragonborn. Yeah, I made a Dragonborn named Felgalos, and he was just a dumb barbarian the whole time.
Really?
Yeah, Gabby made a druid, and it was awesome. It was amazing. Everything happened differently. Everything. I mean, not like the major plot points that don't change, but I'm telling you, Drew, I had a different experience way different experience this time than I did the first time I played the game.
Well, I'm glad you enjoyed it the second time. I feel like not a lot of games have that replay value.
Yeah.
And I will say, I'm thinking, it's 9/18 today, September 18th. Maybe this Christmas, maybe I get Baldur's Gate.
You should.
I don't know.
You should.
I think I just might buy myself a little something.
I think you'll spend 300 hours in it because you'll play through and then you'll decide I have to do it as a different character to experience it like that character because you know D&D already.
I don't know. There's not many games. There's really not a lot of media period that I reconsume besides Bob's Burgers being on in the background, right? The only thing I have played more than once, which I guess multiplayer kind of like loot and shoot like Hunt Showdown doesn't count because you're just doing the same thing over and over. It's not like a story, right? The only game I've replayed like that would be Doom, and I played it 3-4 times.
Yeah, and those aren't long games.
Well, the new one's got about 20 levels to it, which is quite a bit.
Right. But I'm talking about long games, Drew. I've played Persona 5 2 times, and each time was 90 to 100. The first time was like 95 hours. The second time was 120 because it was with the bonus content.
Mm-hmm.
And then I played Baldur's Gate 2 point something times, and it was altogether, it's probably like 270 hours or something like that. Because like a 90-something hour playthrough, a 90-something hour playthrough, and then like another, 80 tacked onto the front end of that.
Yeah, they'll do it.
So, and I don't know where the time goes. So Red Dead, I have a specific list of games in Steam called the backlog, and Red Dead is downloaded on this computer, but has not been played.
You got to try it. I don't remember the first game in its entirety just because I played it so many years ago, but I remember how moved I was at the end. Very similar to The Last of Us 2, where a certain thing happens for anybody that hasn't seen it, where
your
you and I
soul gets destroyed.
Yep, your entire soul just gets shattered. And you have to recollect it over the next several weeks,
or your whole life.
Only other game that actually made me tear up. Like, oh my gosh, I am so invested. This is crazy. And Red Dead 2 didn't even do that, which is much more graphically beautiful, much more advanced for the newer consoles and everything. I think Red Dead 1 was 360, I want to say.
Yeah.
But man, the masterpiece games, beautiful games, especially Red Dead 2 graphically. Really, really good story. I could see playing that twice.
Yeah.
Also, as a good segue, the money system in Red Dead completely busted. Doesn't work at all. You go hunting like 3 times, you kill a couple wolves, you're rich. You're richer than you ever need to be.
So there are some things I'll consume twice. A lot of like media, as far as like YouTube videos, TV shows, I will not. I'm like, no, I'm not going to consume it again unless I'm showing it to someone. I have consumed many an anime twice because I want someone else to watch it, and I will only watch it with them. I've consumed Mass Effect many times because the stories are different. Like you experience the choices differently. So I've experienced Mass Effect a bunch of times, and genuinely, the last time when you and I played it together, the reason I experienced it that way was because I wanted you to see it for one, but also because I had forgotten a lot of intricate plot points because it had been years. Persona 5 came out with Persona 5 Royal, which came out like a year after I finished Persona 5, which was rude of them because it's like 30 more hours of content. And you can't access that content without having made the right choices in the game.
Oh, that's
So
right.
I was walled
Yep,
out.
yep, yep.
I had to play the whole game because I was walled out. So I was like, all right. And you know what? I think I liked that playthrough way more than my first one anyways. I remembered that one way more than I remember my first time playing. I remember my first time being like chills every time a big cutscene came up. My second one, I know those characters. They're my friends.
They're my best friends.
Yeah. As for lately though, I've been in quite a rut because I've been playing a lot of longer games. You know, I've been pretty much obsessed with D&D. I want to play D&D all the time. It's all I want to do. I've been very obsessed with it, and I've been playing a lot of RPGs because those are the kinds of games I like. But a lot of times I get into them, and they just don't live up to what I've experienced before. Where, like, I played Final Fantasy 16, did not like it. Didn't like Final Fantasy 16, and I played it for like 50 hours because I had to beat it. I'm playing Final Fantasy VII Rebirth right now, which is the second part of the remake trilogy, which the third part is not out yet, but I guarantee you it will be subtitled Reunion based on how all of the story has gone. And I'm loving it, but at the same time, it's not hitting me deeply. There have been some teary moments where I've been like, dang, that's crazy. But it's not affecting me at my core, which, you know, I'm a 27-year-old man. Everything doesn't have to affect me at my core. I can just sit down and have fun as Cloud swinging his big Buster Sword. But at the same time, I do feel like these long 60-hour games are taking a toll on me at this point where I'm like, I kind of just want to play a different style for a bit, or like only experience like 20 to 30-hour games. I played Donkey Kong Bonanza. It was 25 hours. And even though I did rush the ending because I was starting to like get a little bit of burnout, that was an experience. That was awesome.
These, you know, as we're both getting older, and I feel like obviously there's the nostalgia. You can't beat the nostalgic games we've played as kids. There's nothing new that's going to compete with that. It's just something ingrained in your blood, right? But now that we're older, I feel like I still crave the story, but I'm less likely to put the time into a longer, like a Baldur's Gate type of thing. I kind of like, you know, I have an hour or two to kill. I kind of just want to play some Hunt Showdown and get as good as I can. You know, it's a big commitment.
And speaking of commitment, Good Old Gamer has been committed to this podcast for a long time, and I just want to thank him for pledging that $25 tier money that he always does. So thank you very much, Good Old Gamer. And with that, you can go to patreon.com/tabletalkfriday to check out all of our benefits, including the post show we're going to record right after this. But not only that, we're on YouTube as well. We've got a bunch of shorts that go up, our episodes get posted there, and those have been a lot of fun. So check out our YouTube, check out our Patreon, and with that, I'm going to need Stan the finance man to take me out.
Hey, everybody! This is Stan the finance man. You know, I've always been Stan the finance man. That's actually my full name: Stan, first name, the finance man, last name. Yeah, I'm here to give you all sorts of money and tips, and make sure you go spend all your money on my business, StanTheFinanceMan.com. Enjoy.